Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, How to Write a Philosophy Paper. In this video we're going to be looking at choosing a topic. Now, philosophy covers almost every topic out there to a certain extent, so there is very little that's off limits. This freedom can make it seem easy to choose a topic, but in reality may leave you with a bit of choice paralysis. Even if you're writing a paper from a prompt or trying to write a paper on a particular text, it's often difficult to know where to start or to narrow down exactly what the topic is that you're interested in. Despite what the Stoics say, I find philosophy topics best when I find something I am angry about. When I read something that I particularly disagree with about or am angry about just reading, I immediately start thinking of how I could present an argument showing it to be false. It may not pan out, but starting with something that you really deeply disagree with can be very fruitful. Conversely, you can always find a philosopher that you love and absolutely agree with on everything and want to defend, and see who's disagreed with that philosopher and try to defend that position or philosopher in the face of those objections. Either way, one way to find something is to read philosophy articles until you feel something, either that love and admiration for a particular philosopher and their opinions, or that anger at something just being wrong and needing to be fixed. Another way to find a topic is to imagine all of the possible consequences of a particular philosopher's position. What would the world be like if what they said was true? Is there anything logically contradictory, or just ethically dubious? If an argument implies something that's impossible, something must be wrong with that argument. If an argument implies something that we do something that is immoral, the argument itself may not actually be moral. It's important with this strategy to make sure that the negative consequences are direct implications of the position of the philosopher and other things that they are committed to because of that position. If you add some of your own assumptions in, it can be really easy for them to avoid your conclusions by simply denying those additional assumptions. For example, if you have a particular set of beliefs about what is right and wrong that perhaps not everyone accepts or is very unique to you, it may be easy for your philosopher to get out of your objections by saying, you know what, your sense of right and wrong is sufficiently off that I don't think anyone's going to be convinced by your argument. So make sure that it's the assumptions inherent in their position which are giving you the ridiculous conclusion, not something that you're bringing to the table. Once you have a particular position that you agree with or disagree with, you need to narrow it down to a particular argument for or against it, even in a longer paper. A paper in defense of utilitarianism broadly is not particularly interesting and would be very challenging to write. But a paper giving a defense of utilitarianism in the face specifically of William James's objection that it would condone a million who are happy only because one suffers is much more interesting. Focus on a single argument or an exchange back and forth over an argument for the position you want to defend or destroy. Note, the longer the paper, the more arguments you can cover, but try to stay focused only on those that are directly applicable to your point. If, in a longer paper, you're going to eventually be offering your own positive vision, focus on those arguments that center around that positive vision, either that would detract from it or that it could replace and supplant because it's much better than them. Once you have a particular topic and argument to cover, you need to determine what your contribution to the discussion is. Is there something that's wrong with the existing argument that you need to point out? Is there a third way in what philosophers have treated as a dilemma? Is there a potential thought experiment which would show that a seemingly intuitive premise is actually quite shaky? This is the most challenging part of a philosophy paper, but it requires you to be the most creative, and so it can also be the most fun. Depending on the length of your paper, you may need to come up with more or less of your own contribution. For very short papers, you may just need to provide an objection or a response to an existing argument, or even just your opinions of that argument. But for longer and longer papers, you're going to need to be providing more and more substantially yourself in terms of what you're contributing to the discussion. In the end, the best way to find something to write on is to read philosophy, or just watch videos like these. Once you find something that you think needs defending or objecting, you are on your way. Next step is to do your research, which we'll cover in the next video. Videos here on Carneades.org, we cover all sorts of different topics and random positions in philosophy, and so that might be a great way to find a position that you strongly agree with or strongly disagree with. Next up, we're going to be looking at doing research, how to do specifically research for a philosophy paper and the way it looks different from research in other disciplines. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.